Goulet.
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Goulet. Welcome into the program.
That's a great way to start.
JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Robert Goulet. I don't know why that popped into my head, but I think it was us going back and forth our pop culture and sports and just our world knowledge.
Does Alex in the booth know, A, who Robert Goulet is and B, what you're actually referencing?
Yeah. And who played Robert Goulet in those SNL skits, for example? No?
Silence? Nothing?
Now, listen. This has brought up something that we're going to be doing over the next... we're going to have to play a game. And that is... The game is to show how out of touch... It's a combination of how out of touch JJ and I are with the kids these days. We're trying to make a determination too, Alex, our producer, Alex Annapolis, by the way, is who we're referring to. We couldn't figure out because I was like, yeah, but we can't ask Alex. The whole thing is that Alex sometimes doesn't know the guys who we're making reference to. And it's not his fault because you were born in, we were debating this, 2003?
99.
Okay. So you were right. See, I was like, I swear it's 2003. He's like, he's not that young. He's young, but he's not that young. Okay. So 1999. So essentially, the new century of sport, of political, politics, anything. So
Alex truly knows nothing about the 20th century.
That's
nothing before he was born.
This is what we were saying, and then we start looking around. We're going, oh my gosh, that's how out of touch we are. When we start walking around, we start making reference to George Mirasan or Manute Bol or other really extremely tall basketballers from the
or Robin Yount. No, nothing.
I could actually
Robin Yount. Nothing.
I could swing a baseball bat like Robin Yount did. I could. So all of these different references that we're making sometimes, and Alex is like, look, you guys, I'm not the problem here. You guys are.
The times have changed, man.
I know. You guys have
catch
to
up with the times.
I know the 80s and 90s are over. We really need to move on, but I don't want to.
Yeah. Listen. So we need to see kind of where that line is for you. Because I don't know when you're suddenly just like, oh, yeah, I know exactly who those guys are. So bands, politics, all of it, any pop culture, anything. We're going to be rolling out for Alex, and we're going to ask him to see if he knows who some of these people are over the next few weeks. It's just for us to be able to know the guy who pushes all the buttons for our show. And he's game. We can push some of his buttons right back, okay? It's fine. All right? So we were going through it, and I don't know why Robert...
sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
No, that's something we could all jam on. Some Tim Robinson. Let's
See,
go.
that one I do know.
Now,
That's what brings our two generations together.
good for you. Super absurd comedy on Netflix. It's fine. All right. We've got a program to get to. Welcome to the show. We have a shortened show again. And this 6 p.m. puck drop was and 5 p.m. pregame for the Utah Hockey Club. Very lucky for us yesterday. When I got back from some kids' baseball games yesterday, and it was during that time where the hockey club was paused in the end of the third period or the end of the second period because of a divot in the ice. And I went, the Preds ice team has totally given up. They're like, nah, I don't care.
The ice is literally melting in Nashville,
away.
And nobody cares.
They're all, hey, last home game. Can we just let this one melt?
Could not end that season quick enough.
We should be fine. We should be fine. We got a hockey game tonight, right? Yeah. Just don't sit in one spot on the ice during our company party today, right? Because whoever sat on that part of the ice made a massive divot. I've never heard of a divot in the ice. They had to fix it all up, and the hockey club gets a 7-3 win. Awesome for them. Good job. How can they lock out the season? And by the way, Villalta with in goal, your double-A guy gets called up. And
how many good goalies do they have in the organization?
I love it. He was all over the place. It was amazing. 7-3 win, tied for the most goals they've scored in a game all year long. And they've done that twice in the last 2 weeks. So it's a great time to be a Utah Hockey Club fan, despite the fact they're not going to the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? But we're going to kick things off a little differently on the program today. Let's get going here. Our show is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot. Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places in the refrigerated section. Let's kick things off here with the cut. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show brought to you by the good folks at Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com for all your trusted needs in retirement. Let's talk a little bit of college football. Yesterday, I dove into a way too early list. I'm assuming this is ESPN or maybe it was or CBS Sports trying to get in on Hans and Scotty's 1660 by doing their own 150. They're very, very, very early top 150 college football players of 2025. Which is very hard to do. Now, I will say this. You got to give kudos to Hans and Scotty because they do a re-rank. These guys will not re-rank jack squat. They'll just put this out there.
No.
They will bait you, and then you will get upset, and then you'll move on. Now, I went through the list, and I immediately had problems with this list, JJ, and that was, I mean, here's the thing. One, you never know who it's going to end up sort of turning into that next name, right? You have some guesses. You certainly have the guesses as to who the guys that people want to see with the big names, right? Jeremiah Smith pops up, and he's the number one guy. And that's the guy I think a lot of people looked at and went, oh, he was already maybe one of the best, maybe a top 10, top 5 player in all of the country. Ohio State's wideout. They put him at number one. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either. I think he is the best player in college football.
Electric.
Yes. I'm okay with this. And I'm just surprised they didn't put Arch Manning number one.
It would be very.
It had to be tempting for them.
I'm sure it was. They're like, a guy who's never started anything? I don't know. But they did put Cade Klubnik at quarterback at the number 2 spot.
Can you help me out with that one?
I have a really hard time with that. Lenora Sellers and Cade Klubnik, I'm like, who is this? Who is this lover of quarterbacks in the ACC and deep SEC? Of all the SEC teams you're going to throw out there, fine. Garrett Nussmeier's 4. Jeremiah Love, who's that running back who ran all over pretty much everybody on their way to Notre Dame getting to the national. They didn't get to the national championship game. They got to the national semifinal, right?
No, they played.
Oh, they played the national championship. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. How quickly I forget. Now, fine. You're going to have a hard time convincing me of some of these things, but the biggest question mark, and the one that I look at and I go, they put it a top 10 dude. And this is no offense. And so I do expect that people are going to take offense. But Sam Leavitt for Arizona State is listed at number 8.
That's way high.
For college football, for CBS Sports' college football
He's
top 150.
He's not even the best quarterback in the Big 12, right?
What made him so good last year? One,
he had an All-American running back. That's
he did.
What made him good.
He had an All-American running back who also caught a lot of balls out of the backfield as well. So not only was he a guy who opened up the passing game for the Arizona State Sun Devils, he also was actually making a lot of those catches himself, right? Yeah. And anybody who's a BYU, I bet BYU fans out there are looking at that.
Jordan Tyson was also really good.
By the way, Jordan Tyson on the list, but he's like 60.
I would put Jordan Tyson ahead
I'd put him ahead of Sam Leavitt.
I would.
So my immediate thing was to go, and I'm not going to go through this 150 people, but I will go and say, all right, there are some locals on the list. I was trying to think how many there would be because I'm going, I don't know how many they're going to be able to put on there. And then I thought back in hold on a minute. They're all Americans in this state. Spencer Fano. He ends up being the highest guy rated on this list. In fact, he's number 21 on CBS's top 150 players of 2025. Spencer Fano. That's a massive bit of respect for the offensive tackle out of Utah. Who
he is a returning All-American. He deserves it.
He's going to be walking into at least next year another year of All-American play. And after that, I would be shocked after next season if he doesn't go to the draft, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 63 on the list, another local, Devin Dampier at quarterback for Utah. Now, this is less of 63 out of 150. This, to me, is a massive indicator as to this trend that I've seen already, and you and I have talked about it, that Utah, people are already going, forget about last year. They're plugging a really a really, really talented dude into an actually very good program with a ridiculous defense, and Devin Dampier is going to be able to take off. This is a great guess. I mean, the reality is he could be a top 50 guy, could be a top 25 guy, depending on how well he performs this year for Utah. Okay, Utah had 4 total on this list of 150. Caleb Lomu also at that offensive tackle spot, the other side of the line from Spencer Fano, and then Lander Barton rings in at 139. I don't disagree with that. Fine.
No.
BYU had 1 player on the list coming in at the even number 100. Now, here's the thing. If you were to tell me without me looking and already knowing who the name is, I used in my brain the idea of a lot of talent, somebody who may have gotten a lot of looks, somebody who may have even had the option to leave the program early to go to the NFL. I thought it was going to be a defensive player. I thought it was going to be an Isaiah Glasker or a Jack Kelly or even like a Chase Roberts, somebody who has all this, a ton of upside, and you just didn't see a lot out of him. But because quarterbacks get a premium, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with this, Jake Retzlaff is at number 100. Is that the right place to put him?
Yeah, why not? Why not? I think that fans listening right now, Utah and BYU fans, are looking at Devin Dampier at 63 and Jake Retzlaff at 100, and now you got a debate. Now you got a really interesting debate. Who wins that debate? BYU fans are going to be, are you kidding me? A kid from New Mexico who hasn't thrown a pass or done anything for Utah right now is rated 37 spots ahead of our quarterback who led us to an 11-win season last year?
So
really?
You're saying there could be 2 separate thoughts of...
And then the Utah fans going,
Sure. There's part of me that says Jake Retzlaff.
We got 4 players on this list, and BYU's only got 1?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
And we're coming off a 5-win season?
It is crazy that Isaiah Glasker and Jack Kelly don't find themselves on this list at all. Now, partly it's because who looks at Utah or who looks at BYU and goes, give me some of these phenomenal defenders that the Cougars are putting out. Like, they've got a lot of work to do when it comes to the image of what a BYU defense should look like going forward.
Well,
Jay Hill's helping, obviously.
Let's stop and think about last year. How many guys on BYU's team last year, non-special teams, were all Big 12?
Was it 0? No, there were 2?
ETN, right?
Yeah, ETN was second team.
Tyler Batty.
And then Tyler Batty, who was first team.
It's not a lot for a team that for the most of the season was in first place in the conference. That's a lot. That's not a lot for a team that went 11-2 last year.
13th in the AP poll at the end of the year.
So this BYU team last year, and maybe this team this year, will be recognized as a team that doesn't have star power, that doesn't have All-Americans all across the roster. But as a group and as a collective, with an excellent coaching staff, finds a way to win games, which is what BYU did last year, right? And by the end of the year, that team had so much confidence in a bowl game, they absolutely crushed Colorado. But it's also a team that by the end of the year had been running out of gas. So who is BYU this year? What part of last year translates to this year? And winning those close games, if some of that were to flip, how do they react to that? Because you are looking at this list as a list of talented players, and I think you would look at the list if you were national media and you're objectively looking at this, and the list of NFL prospects for BYU is not as long as Utah's. It's just a fact. BYU's offensive line is going over a complete overhaul, right? They're all changing.
Yeah.
I think maybe 1 or 2 are coming back.
Yep.
So you don't know who their offensive line is. And you don't know where I don't know. There's some guys that have to be replaced. Who's going to stand up on the interior on the defense? I don't know. But you're looking at Utah, even though they had a 5-win season last year, and you know who Spencer Fano is. He's an All-American tackle. He's back. Caleb Lomu really came along last year, and he's going to be highly rated.
Yep.
And Leonard Barton was already on the NFL's radar. So that explains how I see that list.
Is it mean of me to look at this and go, I still am not sold totally on Jake Retzlaff being a top 100 player in the country?
I think that it's fair.
Maybe I'm thinking it's because in comparison to other guys on his roster, I don't think he's the most talented guy.
I think it is fair, and I think he would agree with you that there's another level that he can get at with consistency and taking care of the football. And I think that Aaron Roderick's talked about this. This was Jake Retzlaff's first year as the full-time starter for the entire season. We obviously got some starts at the end of last year. And they weren't good, to be quite honest.
Yeah, he was 0-4.
Which is why we were very, very concerned about it going in, is how good would he be this year? He answered a lot of critics, but not fully, because there were some balls he threw that were questionable. There were a lot of turnovers that he'd love to have back. And fortunately for BYU, not a lot of those turnovers cost them any games. They were able to overcome those turnovers. But Aaron Roderick just talked about and has an expectation of Jake Retzlaff as this year having a Zach Wilson type year, a Jaron Hall type year, where the last year in the program, you've had a bunch of starts. Now's the time for you to put it all together and have one of those seasons that BYU fans will talk about for a long time. Can Jake Retzlaff make that jump from where he was last year, where he was good but inconsistent, to being great and having an all-time individual season in BYU history as a quarterback, and placing his name among those other guys? And it's an impressive list. And even most recently, Wilson and Hall did that. They slowly got their starts. There was inconsistency, but by their last season, they had figured some things out. Zach Wilson, it landed him a number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft. Jaron Hall is in the NFL. Can Jake Retzlaff make a similar jump? Aaron Roderick hopes so and believes he can.
And I guess, as far as it goes, like in terms of being, when you rank a guy, right, in the top 150 of college football players,
there's a lot of college football players.
That is
quite an honor.
It's an awesome honor. However, and in terms of, obviously a quarterback makes a big difference. The quarterback play is going to be the most deciding position on the entire field, even on teams where you've got a running back who's your key guy. Like maybe the exception last year was Ashton Jeanty, who just took over the entire world. And
that was a generational running back who carried that team.
Who was the kid out of AF who didn't have to Maddox Madsen?
Yeah, Maddox Madsen.
Didn't have to lift a finger, it seemed like.
Was good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
But wasn't an All-American.
Right.
But he didn't need to be.
But again, I think that Jake Retzlaff, actually a bad Jake Retzlaff, could be so far off this list you've never even you would want to. I'm telling you,
fans have seen that.
We all remember what bad Retzlaff looks like, and that's not just from the first year either. We've seen bad Jake make bad decisions too. Kansas game, hello, right?
First half of Wyoming,
first half of Oklahoma State, and so I think that there are a lot of moments where you go, this guy is as polarizing of a not just a ranking, but like of a you can get two very, very different things out of this guy. So he could be the GOAT or a GOAT. You know what I mean? And so it's crazy. It's crazy.
Will he come back down to earth, and will he still have those issues, or will he be a Steve Sarkisian, where you have that first season, you have to work some things out, and then your senior year, you're an All-American type player.
I think you mispronounced Garcesian.
Oh, I did.
All right. I'll let it slide this
Sorry,
time.
Commissioner.
Look, if you're going to get to know the guys, and especially former BYU players, come on. All right? Garcesian. Hey, let me see here. We've got something awesome going on at the station. We want to roll it out today. We're going to start this thing up. We have awesome listeners, and we're going to get our community involved in a really fun way for the battle to be able to land that number one spot in the NBA lottery. Yes, this is the only lottery we play legally here in the state of Utah. And instead of donating to a state lottery, how about a donation that really, really goes somewhere? An awesome idea that we put together here at the station that you can be a part of. Let's get into it right now. Our very newest promotion on the station, and I can't wait to be rolling this thing out for the good karma. Let's do it.
The Utah Jazz select.
Do you believe in karma? Well, we here at the KSL Sports Zone absolutely believe in creating good vibes for the Utah Jazz in their hopes of securing the #1 pick in the NBA Draft Lottery. Go to KSLSports.com to donate $2 to Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital.
Wait, why $2? And isn't that the jersey number of...
Bob, it's just a random number, okay? Just stick to the copy.
It's a real two-for-one. Your donation will help Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital and help the Utah Jazz capture the Good Karma flag in their hopes of recouping winning basketball in Utah.
Fingers crossed, guys.
Donate your $2 right now at KSLSports.com.
See what we did there? Recouping.
Interesting.
Lots of fun stuff in there. But yes, the bottom line is this is an opportunity for us right here in our very own community to be able to help out one of the best causes that we have here in the community. That is helping out Intermountain Children's Health and being able to get Primary Children's Hospital the donations that they deserve to be able to keep not just one of our favorite places in all of the valley, but one of the leading care facilities for children across the entire West. There is a reason that we love that place. But on top of it, I just love the idea, JJ, that a 2 for the number 1 would work out. And by the way, I'm looking at if you go to the KSL Sports website, go to KSLSports.com, you can see the banner on there. It's donating $2. It's the $2 for number 1 promotion. So go check it out for yourself. You look on there, you can make the donation. And I'm already seeing a bunch of names on here. Thank you so much to people like Dan C. and Boyd W. and David M., Aaron G. These are people who have just made donations just within the last few moments.
Is Aaron G related to Kenny G?
I don't know. Hey.
There can only be so many G's in this world.
Our producer, Alex. Kenny G? No? Okay. Why would
Wait,
Why would we have thought that he knew who
Alex,
Kenny G was?
you don't know who Kenny G is?
No, he doesn't. And you know what?
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, you're probably better off. Probably better off. You don't need to know what a soprano saxophone even is, okay? So we appreciate everybody already making those donations. And there's also donations to be possibly matched ×2. Ask your company if that's something that can happen as well. Here at Bonneville, every donation that we make to charities of our choice can get doubled and matched. And so that's something that you could take advantage of as well. But go check it out. If we can get all the good karma we can get, and all that donation, every donation sent goes to the folks at Intermountain Primary Children's Hospital. So there you go. All right. That's a fun one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Let's go check it out. Let's go do this, man. Let's do this all. And I can't wait because I'm going to throw some money in. I always do. I always love doing that kind of stuff. When we do the give-a-thon, when we do stuff like this, anything that we can do to help give back to the folks at Primary Children's, so awesome. All right. We'll take the break here. We'll come back. We've got more right around the corner. And when we do come back, we've got some fun things to get through. I've got some sound from Alex Jensen off of Hans and Scotty that I want to play for you, JJ. And I'm not gonna tip my hat or anything. I just want you to listen what the coach of the Utah Run and Use basketball program now has to say about inheriting this program and what he's going to do going forward. And we're just going to react to it. I'm going to hear it, and you're going to hear it for the first time. And let's get this thing going. Stay right here. More to go on a shortened edition of the program, 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone. You know Nirvana, Alex. This is Nirvana. The drummer for this band?
Who's the drummer?
It's Dave Grohl.
Boom! I love this kid. This is a guy who, I've told you this in the past, he knows where he comes from. He knows the history of things, mostly, sometimes.
What does that say about Nirvana? It transcends. It's generational.
Yes. That's a big...
So is Foo Fighters.
And Foo
Even
Fighters...
the kids know who Nirvana and Dave Grohl and Kurt Cobain are.
I'm going to be honest,
bassist, nobody knows who he is.
Of the things that we rolled out for Alex during pre-show, and sometimes we do that, and we'll throw guys out there every day. And Alex will know guys that I'm like, I would have never thought that he would have known who that is. And then other guys, I'm like,
how do you not know who that is?
Okay, so I'll just reveal it. I said, Gary Payton. And he's like, I know who Gary Payton, he goes, basketball player, right? I know who Gary Payton Jr. is. Could you imagine knowing who Gary Payton II is and not knowing who Gary Payton the Glove is?
Not until today.
What a life you kids lead, and leave in and out whenever you want. It's crazy. Hey, again, this is just to remind ourselves, JJ, that, this is what happens. This happens in sports, too, when somebody goes, oh, when did they win that national championship? Was that 3 years ago? And they're like, no, that was 2009. And you're like, well, I know. That was like 5 or 6 years ago, right? And then people are like,
oh, no.
Bro. You know what I mean? You've done that before. And
oh,
I've done it
time
in my
flies.
Head. I'm like this. 2010 feels like it's 5 years ago, right?
Yeah,
for me.
Absolutely does.
And so.
Add another 10, though.
2020 may as well have been last year. But here we are.
I'm glad that was 5 years ago.
I know, actually, it does. Boy, what a weird stretch.
Don't bring that back, please.
All right. I've got a couple things I want to do. First of all, it's Win Ticket Wednesday tomorrow. So all day tomorrow, you're going to be able to win tickets on a Win Ticket Wednesday. All across all the shows, you can win tickets to see Cyndi Lauper August 14th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Don't miss Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun farewell tour. Get tickets now, livenation.com. All right? Or you can just listen all day tomorrow. Be calling number 12 when you're asked to, and you can win some tickets yourself. Alex Jensen came on the Hans and Scotty program just about an hour ago. So this is fresh off the presses here. And I wanted to play this for you, and we talked about it between the two shows. And, you know, we're prepping typically during our program at that very moment, and we're about to walk in, and we kind of – so a lot of times I'll be listening to Hans and Scotty on the way in, but I'll miss like the last 20 minutes or so because we're getting ready for our stuff, right?
Yeah.
Alex Jensen came on. He's the new head basketball coach for the University of Utah running Utes basketball program. Am I getting this right? When you hear that, I want you to know that that's the context, know who he played for, know the time frame that he played at the University of Utah. It was the salad days of Utah basketball. But here's the thing. Alex Jensen was brought in to bring back the winning ways that he was a part of as a player. When he was asked about this on Hans and Scotty's program, about bringing back that same vibe, filling the Huntsman Center again, getting back to Final Fours, being in a national title game, possibly. Here's what he said about it.
Yeah, no, that's part of it. It's hard because I don't think that the success that Coach Majerus had over the time he was here, I don't think that could probably ever be repeated. You know, it's a different landscape. You don't get most guys for 2, 3, 4 years, but it's definitely it's what a lot of people remember. But I'm trying not to pressure myself into competing with that, if that makes sense, because that was like, if you look back over the decade that he had, it's hard to especially in the Big 12, but I don't think it'll ever be repeated. So I'm not too worried about matching that. I've already accepted defeat on that one.
Yeah, it's
not that we won't try. Not that we won't try. I'm not saying it won't be good, but it's hard.
Utah basketball. We're gonna try.
I would love to hear what fans think about that.
Look, Alex Jensen, I think, is the best hire we've seen at that place in a while. Here's the thing: what we got with Craig Smith, though, the guy who would win the press conference typically, right?
Well, he won at Utah State.
Yes, and he would. But this is also got. If you're at this level of college coaching, like typically you are dialed in for the automatic. Here's what I'm going to say answers, and maybe you should be excited about the full disclosure, transparency. But Utah didn't win a title back then. And Utah making a Final Four and an Elite Eight, if listen, by comparison, if Morgan Scalley came in and said, look, what Coach Whittingham did, what Coach Meyer did, and then subsequently in 2008, what Coach Whittingham did, for those undefeated seasons, I'm not going to say That's a really hard thing to do. I don't think we can do something like that. I've already accepted defeat. We can't really have those types of seasons again.
Winning conference titles, going to New Year's Day bowl games. We can't do that.
But we're going to try.
We're not going to do that.
That is the standard. That's why you're brought in. Nobody thinks you're going to win a national title in the next 2 years, okay? That's a tall ask. What they are asking you to do is to have a vision set very, very high and to make sure that the public knows, that your fan base knows, that you're committed to try to go as far in the NCAA tournament every year as you can. And far as you can for the standard that Utah fans and Utah should have with a guy who's been there before, they're hoping that you say, I want to be right back there again. And I want to honor the past of Utah basketball by bringing it back to where it used to be. Am I being mean about this? I just don't think that was... I mean, maybe I could see the sandbagging side of it, but he actually just I don't know. It didn't even sound like sandbagging. It just sounded like, yeah, we're not really focusing on that. We're going to just try real hard to win some games.
Yeah, I'm guessing fans are not going to like that answer. I will give him this. I do understand the part he said about putting unnecessary and undue pressure on himself and their program.
Yeah, and no one wants you to be Rick Majerus. He's one dude,
and that's
he's
fine.
He's hard.
Say that, hey, I don't want to put pressure on us. We're gonna stack W's one day at a time. Use some cliche like that.
Yeah,
that's understandable.
I've already accepted defeat,
but saying, yeah, we're not going to be able to do that here under my watch. That's not going to rally the troops here.
You know what?
And here's the other thing I'll say about that. You're in the Big 12. It's one of the best leagues. The SEC was this year, but last year the Big 12 was the best conference in college basketball. You say you can't go to Elite Eights and Final Fours this year? 2 Big 12 teams this year went to the Elite Eight. 4 made the Sweet 16. Right? Or was it 3? BYU and Arizona. Yes, 4.
BYU, Arizona,
4
Texas
Big 12
Tech,
teams
Houston.
made the Sweet 16. What you're saying is you can't win this conference? You're not going to be able to compete with those 4 teams in this conference? You can't say that.
But I know
you can't say that we're not. Don't expect us to do that.
But he even doubled down and said, "Well, yeah, I mean,
why isn't these things possible? You can do more than Majerus did in the '90s,
especially in the Big 12,
because this is the Big 12. You're on a bigger stage. That Majerus did that in the WAC / Mountain West, mostly the WAC. In the WAC, like you're in the Big 12 now. You have resources that Majerus and Utah in the '90s couldn't have dreamed of.
By the way, let me just, as an aside, since you just mentioned the word resources, what donors want to pour their resources into a program where the guy goes, yeah, we're probably not going to get back to where we were back then, but anyway, your donation is appreciated.
You could understand a little bit of a pause. Wait, what? We're not. You want us to give you this much, but you're already discounting
Compete, man. Let's go.
Pursuit of winning Big 12 championships? Whoa. If you're saying you're not going to be able to duplicate what Utah did in the 90s, you're conceding that not only will you not make a Final Four Elite Eight, what you're saying is you're not going to be able to compete with the top teams in this conference because that's the access you have in this conference. BYU is showing it already.
Yeah.
In year 2, making it to the Sweet 16, being all in. I assumed, I hope that Utah's doing the same thing BYU's doing or trying to. What he said has me stunned.
Yeah.
And maybe he's busy preparing for a play-in game on Wednesday. His team is still fighting for a playoff spot. Maybe he's distracted. Maybe that was a little bit too honest of an answer, or maybe he didn't phrase it correctly. I'm trying to give him as much of a pass here as I possibly can, but I still can't get past what he said. Like, you have to, if you're trying to rally the troops, you're trying to get this program up off the ground. I mean, Coach Calhoun up at Utah State says we can win a national championship here in Logan. He's not shying away from anything.
Yeah. That's weird. I thought it was a weird tone.
Very strange.
Weird tone. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's got both of his feet planted firmly in the NBA currently.
I hope so for the sake of Utah fans, because that's exactly why Alex Jensen was being brought in.
Okay.
Was to take things to another level. They could be in the middle of the pack in the Big 12 under Craig Smith and could have saved themselves on a buyout. Yeah. That's not what they're doing here. They were saying that where we're at is unacceptable. We don't believe we can get to the point where we can compete with BYU and Texas Tech and Arizona and Kansas and Houston. Houston, by the way, was in the AAC 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
If you can't do what Houston's doing, why not? Just all Houston had to do was hire the right coach. Houston's not, other than Phi Slamma Jamma, Houston is very similar and even had a shorter run in the 80s. Like, why can't you do what Houston's doing right now? That's the difference a coach makes. And I think that, and I hope that Alex understands that that's the expectation. You can shy away from it. You can say, don't put that pressure on us. But Utah fans, that's the whole point. They're excited about this.
Right.
Now we got a chance. We got Alex. We got our guy.
I'm wondering how far this clip's going to go, kind of out there in the ether, to see what this thing does on social media, or if people are going to go, nah, he's talking like a guy who hasn't taken the job totally by the horns yet. So maybe that's the problem. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. I've got a game for JJ to play on the way back here. It's our Would You Rather, and it's a fun edition of it. So stay right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. You heard Matt Villalta right there. What would he be considered? The third goalie, right? You've got
technically fourth.
Oh, yeah.
Because Ingram's out on injured reserve.
Yeah, I guess that's
got Stauber, who's been down at Tucson.
Your actual, AAA guy.
Villalta's like his backup. Like, wasn't he in the ECHL?
I think he was. And it sounds like Veggie's going to get the start tonight.
And he was awesome. Villalta was awesome.
He was good.
Remember, they had a two-man advantage in the first period, and he shut it down.
You see his helmet? This is the part that my kids always focus on, too, because they kept showing him. And they kept zooming in on him. They're like, this guy's new. They just kept doing it the whole broadcast. And his helmet had the blue Toe Mater on it from Cars, man. Had the blue Mater on there.
That's nice.
That was sweet. All right, would you rather? I got a quick one here for you. This is kind of a la the internet games that we've seen played recently, JJ. So I'm just going to do this, and you're going to pick the preferred one out of the two that I give you, okay? Green jacket or a gold medal?
Gold medal.
Gold medal or a World Cup trophy?
Gold medal.
Gold medal or a Wimbledon title?
Gold medal.
Gold medal or an NBA title?
NBA title.
NBA title or a Stanley Cup trophy?
Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup trophy or the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Stanley Cup.
Stanley Cup trophy or a Super Bowl ring?
Super Bowl ring.
Pretty easy. Is that what we're sitting on there?
Thanks for playing.
Super Bowl ring.
That was a fun game. I like that.
Super Bowl ring is the thing about the Super Bowl ring is the green jacket, you'd wear it around and people would be like, that freaking guy, dude. He showed up again.
Shooter McGavin. Like,
yeah,
I can't stand that guy.
Get out of here with that.
Get that jacket off.
But the Super Bowl ring, there's still a little bit of an aw shucks factor to it. Is there? I don't know. So my mother-in-law was she met Andy Reid, I think, last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. And he was down at Riverside Country Club down in Provo. And she put on all three of his rings. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, that it was insane to see the actual size of the Super Bowl rings on a woman's hand. Andy Reid's hand, you're like, oh, it looks like, I mean, his hand looks like it should have no offense, but it looks like it's a cheeseburger hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They literally are cheeseburger hands. When my mother-in-law's hands got it on and she's showing my son in the picture, I'm like, holy cow. But my football coach had 2 Super Bowl rings, and when he busted those things out on game day, like, you can't wear a green jacket to a golf tournament, but you can wear a Super Bowl ring to the high school team that you're coaching, and it brings a little different level.
There's something special about it.
You're not walking around with the Stanley Cup trophy or maybe you have a ring on. All those guys get rings, but the Super Bowl ring's different. So
yeah, if the Baseball Hall of Fame doesn't want Dale Murphy, then I don't want the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Okay,
bag you.
We'll take the break here. We'll come back next hour. Our guy Mitch Harper, BYU Cougars insider for KSLSports.com, going to join us next. We'll get his thoughts. We might even play that Alex Jensen sound for him. See what he thinks about it.
Yeah.
All right. Stay here. More to go. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone.